of words between the EU Commission and AstraZeneca. In fact, they're going to meet later on today to try and see if they can find some type of compromise talks. But this has all got very tricky, very difficult, very political very quickly, and we don't quite know where the truth lies. As we heard there from the European Commission, they dispute what was suggested by the AstraZeneca CEO last night, that essentially the deal that was signed between the Commission and the pharmaceutical giant was that they would try their best to produce the number of vaccines, around 80 million in the first quarter of this year, rather than a legal guarantee that they would do. The EU, as you just heard, disputes that. And then there is this discussion about how the UK comes into this and what is the reason for the delay in the vaccination doses expected inside the EU. You have to remember AstraZeneca at the weekend said it was going to be less than half than had been expected, because the company has blamed essentially a site here in Belgium that is not producing as high a yield of this vaccine as they would hope. That is why they say they cannot deliver those doses on time. However, there are two sites belonging to AstraZeneca in the UK that are producing this vaccine on a pretty speedy order, and the EU's now insisting that they have access to those vaccines inside the UK, that some of them be redirected to the EU, because they say in the initial agreement there was no separation between the different AstraZeneca sites in different countries.
So, Darren, what are the possible solutions then, which the EU can then, or is looking to speed things up? Could they possibly look at another factory or company to produce these chemicals?
Well, so the solution clearly for the EU is to say, well, let's just have some access to those vaccines that are produced in the UK. That seems pretty obvious. Now, that's clearly quite tricky for AstraZeneca, because they claim they have promised many of these vaccines to Britain first. Additionally, clearly the British government wouldn't be happy if vaccinations produced in the UK were redirected to the EU, if that meant they got fewer vaccines. So that could get pretty difficult, maybe somewhat nasty between Brussels and London in the days to come, if AstraZeneca decide to kind of agree with the EU or to cave into their demands and go down that route. Now, there is this meeting later on today. Clearly, the EU felt they have not had the proper answers or solutions from AstraZeneca to date. There's talk about potential legal action, though that would likely run on for years, maybe months, maybe even years. So that wouldn't be an immediate solution. Additionally, there has also been this suggestion from some inside the EU, including Germany's health minister, that the EU might look at blocking other vaccines being sent abroad outside the EU that's produced inside the EU. Now, that would clearly refer most notably to the Pfizer vaccine that is also produced here in Belgium, that potentially they may say, well, you cannot deliver these to the UK, for example, and what you'd end up with is a pretty bad, I would say, vaccine war between these two different kind of blocks or countries. And, you know, this is, as I say, got the real possibility to get very, very difficult. There's no obvious solution. In many ways, we don't really know who is actually providing the ultimate truth here, because the public have not seen the contracts. But those talks, those negotiations between both sides, due to resume later on today.